All right, welcome everybody. We've got almost 40 people on. That's really good. You'll see why attending the meeting live is a good thing here in a minute, but it's not necessary because I'll do a recording. We'll meet every week for about 30 minutes. Hopefully a little shorter than that if we can pull that off. But the goal of this meeting is to just touch base. I'll share some ideas and thoughts and some examples. But today, this is just an introduction to the course. We'll talk a little bit about my philosophy with grading, the goal of this class. We have actually two sections, so there's exactly 100 people that could join us. Everybody is in two sections and in groups of 5. That's going to matter next week because part of every week, except for the first week and the last week, you will participate in a little group discussion. You kind of did a group discussion this week, or will do this week, on your little icebreaker introduction, but there's no requirement to comment on anything. When you get to next week, you'll want to comment. You'll be required to comment on a couple of people's posts. So let's just talk a little bit about this class. This class forever was just an elective class. About 3 semesters ago, a year and a half ago, they changed it to a required class as part of GE for a certain group of students. So most of you are probably taking this class because you saw it as a required GE class. Others might be taking it as an elective. But I've been involved with this class for about 20 years, and I'm very biased. I think it's one of the better classes on campus. But what we're going to be doing this semester is summed up in this quote by Socrates. And Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Now, we're going to be spending 13 weeks doing a little activities to examine your life. And I'm going to show you what we're going to be building this semester. By the way, these meetings are better if it's just not me talking. So if any of you have a question, just unmute your mic, mention it, list it, or speak up, and I'll make sure that we are doing it. I want to make sure this is recording. Yeah, it's recording. Okay. So this is the textbook. Now, I've heard from a couple of people. There's actually 3 versions of this text, so it might not look just like this. I think this might be the most recent one. You can get this through the bookstore. Most of you are not in Rexburg, I'm guessing. But some of you, it might take a little while to get the text. Don't worry about it, okay? Because we're really going to dive into the text a little bit next week and more in 2 weeks. So if you don't have your text right away, don't sweat it, because I'm going to cover the basics anyway. You're going to want to get it. You're going to want to read through it. It's a really good book. It's not very big. You can read it in a few hours if you wanted to. But it is the basis of this class. Now, I want to introduce you quickly to David Christensen. David Christensen is the author of Inner Victory and the creator of this course. Let me make sure I can see chat if anybody's posting anything. So if you want to talk to me today, or any of us, you can just chat or unmute your mic. So let me tell you about David Christensen. David Christensen at one time was a professor at BYU, Idaho. Before he was a professor, he was part of the Franklin Covey program, but he was part of the Franklin side, working for a gentleman by the name of Hyrum Smith. And so what he did is he traveled all over the world teaching people about how to be successful and how to be productive. He started out as a seminary teacher, but then they had a daughter who was severely handicapped, and you'll read about this a little bit in the textbook. And so he ended up having to take a different job because he needed to make a little more money. Well, after a while, he came back to teaching, and he came to BYU, Idaho as a religion teacher. David Christensen, I got to know him really well because he was my state president when I was serving as a bishop on campus. And what happened is we started building this course. He started building this course. They kept calling him away on missions. And I noticed on one of the icebreaker, I don't know if you're on the meeting today, I don't remember your name, you'll chime in if you can, but he was the president of the Santiago, Chile mission. And about the time they called him to be a mission president, we were building this course. So he handed it over to me, and we built the course for campus. Then he came home, and they called him away to start an institute program in South Carolina. Then he came home, and then they called him to be the MTC president in Guatemala. And so he kept leaving, and as he kept leaving, then he handed off to me to build the course. So I'm kind of a sub-architect of the course, but I don't want to take credit for him, because the genius behind Inner Victory and Personal Achievement is David Christensen. Now, what we're going to be doing in this class, any questions? Let me ask, any questions so far? Okay, seeing none. Again, feel free to chime in. Yeah, did I hear somebody? Okay, don't think that was a question. Okay, so if you were to build a house, building a shop or anything, you would want to have a good set of blueprint. You'd have a good set of plans, right? A blueprint that you're going to use to design the course. Well, in our lives, we don't necessarily create a blueprint for our life. Well, that's what we're going to be doing. Inner Victory is going to guide you step by step through creating what we call a personal creed document. It has 7 parts to it, 7 parts. You won't do your first part for a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks from now is when we'll start building your personal creed document. And obviously 7 parts, 13 weeks, there's going to be some weeks where you're not going to have that much or any part of building that personal creed document. Well, the personal creed document is going to have 7 parts to it. And I'm going to just highlight each of the 7 parts. And next week, we don't do it. The week after that, we don't, but we'll be in kind of building up to building this. The first part of your creed document is going to be your beliefs. So I want you to think on the LDS Church, the Articles of Faith. Joseph Smith wrote 13 Articles of Faith. You're going to write 10 to 12, no set number, but you're going to write the things that you believe in, okay? So if you can see this one, this person believes in the Savior and in his church and in prayer and in family, those kinds of things. Now, don't worry about this until we get into it, but step 1 is you're going to build your articles of belief, your beliefs. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to have an opportunity to connect with a mentor. And the mentor assignment has 2 parts. You're going to find a mentor and get advice from the mentor, and then you're going to build what we call your board of advisors. The board of advisors would be if you could get anybody around a table, let's say you had a really big question, if you could get everybody around the table that you could flee, son.
I'm going, Dad. I'm going.
He was in a
Mom puts the sacks.
I don't.
I'm going to Malachi. So
Okay, find him. Sorry, he was in a towel. He was kind of okay, but anyway, so if you could, big problem, big challenge, change a job, change a major, find a spouse, do something. Who would you want around the table to give you advice? That's part 2, okay? Part 3 is you're going to create a document that highlights who you are, talents, abilities, skills. What makes you unique? Everybody on this class, all 100 of you, are extraordinarily different from each other. You're going to have gifts and abilities and talents that aren't mine, that aren't yours. We're going to talk about what makes you unique, and actually going to do a little personality exercise as part of that. That's part 3. Part 4 is you're going to identify your values. What are the things that are most important to you? Now, some of your beliefs might also be a value, but we're going to talk about the difference between beliefs and values. Part 5 is you're going to set some goals, okay? Values lead to goals. What are the things this semester specifically that you want to accomplish? Okay, part 7 is we're going to talk about gratitude. Now, gratitude has 2 parts to it. People who've made a difference and events that have made a difference. We're going to talk about people in your lives that have made an impact and events in your life that have made an impact. And then the last one, actually, there's a third part to that. We're going to talk a little bit about the power of forgiveness. Okay, so there's kind of three parts to that one. And then the last one is your mission statement. Brother Christensen calls it your song, but we're going to talk about your mission statement. Okay, and what is a brief statement that encapsulates all that you want to become and all that you want to be? That's the 7 parts. Okay, so don't worry about it. Next week you'll see an example of some of these that other kids have submitted, other students, I should say. And each week when we do it, I'm going to show you more examples. So we'll talk about, now you'll notice that all of this is all fancy and pretty and graphic and whatever. As you build your 7 parts each week, you don't have to have it look like this until the end, okay? So as you build your, what we call your draft of each one of these, you can just hand it in. You don't have to make it look pretty until the end, okay? All right, this is another Brother Christensen. Now, you don't have to go buy this book. This is How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's so good that I'm going to insert little bits and pieces of this. You don't have to go buy it. You don't have to go read it. But I'm just going to give you a little heads up that I'm going to introduce that book once in a while. Okay? All right. Some of you innocently, and it's okay, I'm not going to worry about it this week, have already done part 4 assignment, your what we call your class meeting report and lesson evaluation. You need to wait and do that after we've had the meeting, because there's a part of this meeting that you have to respond in that. Now, for 41 of you, there's 3 boxes, okay? Box 1, the top box, if you attended this meeting live, all you do is put attended in that top box, okay? You don't have to write one other word, just put attended. If you watch the recording, you have to write a summary paragraph about what you learned from the recording. So there is one advantage of attending live, and that is you'll have a little less homework to do on this part of the assignment, okay? Now, if you watch the recording, it's fine. Now, oftentimes students say, well, when are you going to hold the meeting? Well, I want to move this meeting around a little bit because it might be a little bit better now that the whole world is remote. But some of you are probably still working. Some of you might have conflicts with other online meetings or online classes. So today, this week will be Tuesday at 5. Next week, it might be Tuesday at 8:30 or Monday at 5. I'll never do later than the 5 on Monday. It could be Wednesday. But I'm going to move those around a little bit. I'll send an email out every Sunday giving a date and time for this week's meeting, okay? Now, for everybody else, even those who watch the recording, there's 2 other boxes that you'll answer, okay? Everybody does 2 and 3. Just a brief summary about the class, what you learned from it, what you liked about it, disliked it. That helps us as we continue to teach the course.
Davis.
Yes.
I'm just trying to find this spot that you put the attended, and is it W01 discussion icebreaker?
No, it's going to be. I'll just go show it to you. Okay, I'm capable of doing this. I think. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go share my screen, and this time I'm going to go to desktop. Okay, hang on. Make it smaller. Can I? Okay, can you guys see my browser window? Okay, hang on. All right. Let me get into iLearn really quickly. Can you guys see my window? Is this moving for you? Okay, good. So on iLearn, as you get into the course, okay, all this junk they make us read about stuff. So if you go into the modules, okay, this week there's 4 graded assignments. And there's a couple things. They want you to review the syllabus. So every week, at the end of the week, you're going to have this weekly, they've changed the name of it, this weekly evaluation, okay? If I go into the weekly evaluation, let's see if this is what it's gonna look like. I need to preview it because I'm the editor of the course. So question 1, what was the most important thing you learned from this week's lesson? You just put, oops, attended, okay? That's it. Don't write anything else, okay? Everybody will do question 2 and question 3. Oh, they've changed the class. Here's the good news for you. Okay, you only have to answer one other one. Okay, what did you especially like or dislike about this lesson? Why? Just 2 or 3 sentences about this week's lesson. Loved it, hated it, didn't like this, Brother Davis' lesson was too long, whatever, whatever. Liked it, shared, whatever, okay? But if you attended this meeting, all you have to do is write attended in this top box.
I have a quick question. For the question 2, does that mean for like the assignments or just this little meeting that we're having? Is that what we're talking about? Or
The whole week, the reading, the material, everything about this week's lesson, not this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Now, let me tell you, so this is, you guys will all be blessed by this, I guess, but I'm going to hold to it. I'm actually part of the course council, so I'm surprised that I did not know about this changes. So ignore whatever instructions you read up to this. As a benefit for watching the recording or for attending the meeting live, do attend it in box 1 and a little something in question 2. Okay. Now, about 2 or 3 times this semester, I'm going to give a couple extra credit opportunities. And the only way that I'll know if you did the extra credit assignment, just a couple of little videos that I'll have you watch, a couple of extra things. You'll just put up here in this box, attended and watched extra credit video. And then when I grade this assignment, I'll give you the extra credit points. Okay? So here's the good news. They simplified this. Here's the bad news. You might all be confused with the syllabus. I'll have to go back and look at it. But if you attend the meeting live, I want you to skip number 1, just as a little thank you for you guys. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, let's talk a little bit about my philosophy with grading, okay? They can't fire me, right? I'm actually, my full-time job is the director of the Career Center on campus. And I've just taught this class because I love it and I love the topic. And I've taught it in class for about 15 years and online for about 15 years. Some of that was at the same time. This is the last semester was the first semester that I'll tell you my grades. I had 51 students. I gave out 48 A's, 1 A minus, and 2 B's. Okay. So the good news is no one failed. The only way to fail this class or to not get an A is to just blow off doing homework. There's like 2 times that there's a graded quiz. I'll go through the grading this week, and if I see anybody that didn't get a 5 on the syllabus quiz, I'm just going to change it to a 5 because some of the questions were a little ambiguous in my mind. I didn't create those questions. And the only way to get a bad grade in this class is to just don't do the work. And if I see people missing or just kind of blowing it off, I'm going to bug you a little bit. I might give you a phone call. I'll send you an email. Just say, hey, what's up? Tell me what's going on. You didn't do any work this week, right? Usually every semester I'm going to give out about 45 A's, a couple B's, and about 3 F's. And the F's are kids that just kind of didn't try, right? The value of this course isn't the grade. The value of this course is your personal creed document. And at the end of the semester, you'll know if you were successful in this class, because almost all of you will get an A, is if your personal creed document is something that you pack around with you, that you've made a copy of it and miniaturized it, or at least your mission statement, and have it with your scriptures. And you think about your mission statement, you think about your goals, you ponder about how you're doing with your values. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And most of us get so caught up in the day-to-day living of life, and I can be this way, that we know there's these important things and these goals that we should be thinking about, but we often just get so busy just surviving, right? And now we're all surviving at home, which means, I've got a kid walking through my online meeting in a towel, right? And I know he was fighting with his sister on the trampoline a minute ago, right? I heard it, kind of. You didn't hear it probably, but that's life, right? We deal with those kinds of things. But we can be so busy with life that we don't take time to take care of the things that matter most. As far as late work, you can go back and finish an assignment that's late anytime. This version of Canvas allows you to do that, right? But my primary goal on late work is if it's on time, you'll get full credit. And I'm not going to argue with you on your beliefs, right? They're your beliefs. They're not my beliefs, right? I'm not going to say, well, your board of advisors. I can see effort and I'll reward effort, right? But if something, for some reason, your computer freaks out, you're dealing with something in your life, I've had people have babies in the middle of the course. I've had people get married in the middle of the course. I've had people leave for a week to go on a cruise. Like, I don't know why that happened. Not now. There are no cruises going, but just let me know, right? I'm going to be in the Bahamas for a week, and I'm not going to have access to the internet. I'll say, okay, that's fine. Just thanks for letting me know. Get it in as quick as you can. If you hand it in within 1 week after it's due, I'll give you partial credit, okay? And I'll work with you even if it's later than that. But the goal would be to just get it in on time. So let's talk a little bit about when things are due. Most weeks, you're going to have about 4 assignments. Next week, there's only 2. There's one other week, there's only 2. There's a couple weeks when there's 5. All of the assignments, let me rephrase that. Most of the assignments are due Friday at midnight, okay? Starting next week, you'll have your threaded discussion, and there's 3 parts to threaded discussion. Part 1 is your post. Part 2 is the comment on 2 other people's posts. So the recommendation is that you do part 1. You do part 1 by Wednesday. That gives other people time to comment on your post or you to comment on their posts, okay? The other assignments are due on Friday. This lesson evaluation thing at Bajig that we're on right now, I'm going to make sure. Let's see, does it say due date started, whatever? This one is due Saturday, okay? Saturday at midnight, okay? So any questions on that? So I want to work with you. Just be on it. This week you do a little plan for success. Start early. You can start each week's lesson on Friday, the week before that lesson is due. So, you can get a head start a little bit. That was a lot and fast. Any questions that anybody has? Let me see if I have any in chat. My chat keeps disappearing. Chat. There we go.
I have a question.
Yes, Sam, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
Is it only this week for the box 1? We don't put anything? Is that
on box 1 you put attended, and you'll do that every week that you are meeting live.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I misheard because I thought it was said like if you were in this meeting and you're like gifting us a pass, but that's not a thing.
On box 1, yeah, just put attended. Don't spend.
Okay.
Now, listen, if you're really motivated and you want to say something in box 1 that you want me to read, I'll read it, right? If you watch the recording, so while you watch the recording, which will be 59 of you, if you're watching this recording, you need to fill out both boxes on that last assignment. If you watch the recording, then just put attended. Now, I might get in trouble with my official class leaders who tweaked this course, but I'm okay with that. I'll just say I'm sticking with my plan. Your incentive for attending live is you get to write 4 less sentences. Not that big of a deal, but.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is that the way it's going to work for every week?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to meet at always the same time, or is that going to change?
No, I'm going to rotate these times around. Okay. Now there's 3 times: the week we do values, the week we do goals, and the week we do your mission statement, last week of the course. I'm going to, on purpose, do those meetings Monday at 5, because those are the 3 weeks that are a little busier. And on those 3 in particular, values, goals, and that last week, I want you to watch the recording or watch the meeting or participate in the meeting before you do personal pre-document those parts, okay? Because there are specific things I want you to do, and a little more insight than what you're going to get from the book.
Got it. And
That's-
also, are all meetings going to be on Tuesdays?
No, I'm going to move those around. Some will be Mondays.
Oh, okay.
Only 1 meeting a week, and they'll always be less than 30 minutes, which means we've got 2 minutes left on this one, okay?
And
Now, what
I'm
I'll
guessing that it's going to be announced.
Yes, on Sunday. Every Sunday, I'll send out an email announcing the time of the meeting for that week.
Okay, thanks.
Now, I've got a very specific question because I just see your face. I'm going to say your name wrong. Talia Dresden? Tell me, unmute your mic. Can I ask you a question? Who's your dad?
David.
Oh, David. Is he a brother to Steve and Chris?
Yes.
Okay. I graduated with Chris, and I was in David's, no, sorry. Yeah, and I was in Steve's ward for many, many years. Steve's the choir director, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Chris, I'm not sure where Chris is, but I graduated with Chris. So anyway. I
Yeah,
don't,
my dad's the younger brother to Steve.
okay. And I probably saw him at some point in our Rexburg crossings, but I didn't know him personally. So.
Yeah, he went to Rick's, so.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, because I know that some may want to talk to me face-to-face or ask more questions after the recording, is I'll stop this recording here in just a second. I'll ask one more time if there's any questions. But then I'm going to stay on for the next few minutes to see if anybody wants to ask questions of me or to visit. So any last questions before we say goodbye until next week? All right. Well, thank you all. I'll send on Sunday again. I'll send an announcement out for next week's meeting time. And then we'll be back together next week.
Thank you, Brother Davis.
Hey, thank you guys.